Another first. You could say this feat was down to earth. China's 3 astronauts, now gone far in their 15-day mission, are offering lectures from their space lab to students back in the country. CNN's Nick Robertson has more on those experiments on Earth, bound no teacher can pull off.
A milestone in China's space race. Lessons from orbit. China's 3 astronauts, now over halfway through their 15-day mission, are teaching class from their space lab 300 kilometers above Earth. Wang Yaping, the only woman on the team, is wowing China's school children with experiments no earthbound teacher could pull off. Creating floating balls of water, a lesson in surface tension. Gyroscopes, the secret to stability in 3D motion. A two-way live dialogue, just like a regular teacher. How do you measure the weight of objects in daily life, Wang asks. I measure my weight with an electronic scale at home, the student answers. Beyond this classroom, another 60 million Chinese children and their teachers tuned in to watch the extraterrestrial lectures. These space classes designed not just to enthuse a new generation, to set academic goals on the stars, but to energize China's vast earthbound population about space travel, and more importantly, support the cost of it. Even before they left for space, Wang and her 2 male colleagues were being hailed as heroes, the hopes of the nation to catch up in the global space race, riding on their exploits. Now, as the mission draws to a close, and the space lab, soon to be shut down and replaced by something bigger, readies to close its airlock doors for the last time, it won't just be the astronauts breathing a sigh of relief. It will be China's leaders too. So far, an apparently flawless operation, a lesson in what China can do.
Syria is one country that was high on the agenda of the G8 summit in Northern Ireland. Now in Syria, the government said its troops are making gains against the rebels. 2 weeks ago, Syrian forces took control over the strategic city of Qusair near the border with Lebanon. CNN went there this week, and what was found was a ghost town.
Driving into Qusair, it's clear just how fierce the battles here must have been. The local church badly damaged, just like the historic mosque, and Qusair's main landmark, the iconic clock tower. Almost all residents fled during the fighting. Only a few are now coming back. George, who would only give us his first name, fled when Qusair was in opposition hands. Of course we want to keep living here, he says. We are trying to get help from the government so that we can make this town worth living in again. Qusair was held by the opposition for more than a year. It's close to the Lebanese border and became a strategic hub for the flow of weapons to rebel forces in central Syria. Regime forces backed by Hezbollah fighters launched an offensive on the town and retook it earlier this month. But the cost was immense.
It's really hard to see how anyone could claim victory here in Qusair. Look at these houses. Look how badly damaged they've been due to the fighting. There's sort of a rough cleanup operation going on in town, but it seems to us as though many of the structures here in Qusair have been damaged beyond repair.
In a rare TV interview, a Syrian military commander shows me how pro-Assad forces captured the town. First, we surrounded the city, and then we attacked it from all sides, he says. And of course, we killed a lot of them, and there were a lot of wounded. The rest of them ran away through the valleys and the mountains, mostly to Lebanon. And now we can announce that Qusair and its suburbs are totally cleansed of Islamists. Totally cleansed and totally destroyed. Qusair also highlights the increasingly sectarian nature of the Syria conflict. George, like many of those now returning, is Christian. He took me to his brother's destroyed house. Couldn't hide his anger at Qusair's Sunni Muslims, many of whom supported the opposition. My brother used to live here with his kids, he says. He's an engineer. His son came to the door and they shot him because they think all Christians are against them. George says he's willing to forgive, but after so much bloodshed, it seems hard to imagine that Qusair will ever return to what it used to be. A quiet town on the Lebanese border where religious affiliation did not matter. Fred Plotkin, CNN, Qusair, Syria.
Time now to take a second break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Kanila is set to host another wrestling contest as part of the break from the President's dialogue with the People's Store. Ahead of the event, which starts on Friday, GRT spoke to Abdullah Bojang, alias Abulo, desk officer for wrestling at the National Sports Council in this interview.
Well, how you be live in a Satan Rajim, Bismillah Rahim. Well, the wrestling is about meet the farmer store, which the president is doing. There's a small break that they are making, so, people are there, as we all know, the president, he loves wrestling. He invited, all the wrestlers of Gambia, to go there from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's going to be a big wrestling competition there. Like you always see, he promotes traditional wrestling. So it's going to be purely traditional wrestling. So we call in all the wrestlers from every end to come, and we celebrate the break of the President's Tour.
Just as you mentioned, it is a break of the President's Tour. But again, you said all wrestlers are invited. But who are the most prominent wrestlers? I mean, the big wrestlers that we have in the country that will be present at this wrestling contest?
Well, anyway, if you said traditional wrestling, we don't say big wrestlers and the like. We always call everybody, because if you want to name wrestlers, you might forget somebody. So this is why, when we are calling, we call everybody. If you name, you might forget somebody that might not hear his name and he fouled and he would not want to come. But when the president called, everybody, we say the whole Gambia, even Senegal, we invite them to come. As usual, you all know, it's not like there's payment. There's no payment for it. It's always to go there and enjoy ourselves with our lawful president, who is very big heart for the Gambia. So always whenever he calls, you people know, when you go there, when you wrestle fine, he's always there, to give you support. So please, whenever he calls, we have to go there, and then, celebrate with him.
Okay. From the way you speak, it means all categories are invited at the wrestling contest. But what are the number of days that they will be spending in Kanilai for this wrestling contest?
Well, traditional wrestling, normally we don't have categories there. It's always, you have to look at somebody that you think you can be able to wrestle with him and you can beat him down. This is where it is attractive. When you look at someone and you say, hey, I can beat you down, you say, no, let's check it out. Then there, you go and wrestle, whoever wins, then that's it. So there's no categories, Also, the wrestling is going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm calling everybody to come.
3 whole days activities or just a period of the days?
No, it's 3 days activities, and also there are certain programs also that they said is going to happen there, but I'm here presiding over wrestling. So we are calling everybody, from Bara, Bakau, Serekunda, Sanyang, Tanje, Fonyi, all over. And also, I'm conveying this message also to, our general there, Bora Koli, who is with the organizing committee of Kanilai. Definitely, whenever we are there, they take care of, the wrestling thing, So we are telling them that we are coming as usual. The good job that you do there to make sure that the wrestling is done, and the wrestling is supervised correctly until the president is happy. It's the same thing we want it to be, look the same style. Thank you very much, Mr. Bora. We are coming on our way.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Abulo. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Before we end this edition of the news, a reminder of our headlines. Critical players in the domains of fisheries and water resources have been discussing legislative implications of the water sector reform project within the framework of the ongoing national water sector reform studies. The Gambia Press Union has provided training for print and electronic media practitioners on standards of gender reporting, Children's Act and other media-related causes. Counting the cost, thousands of demonstrators have clashed with riot police in Brazil as they they vent their anger at the millions of dollars being pumped by their country into staging the 2014 FIFA World Cup. And lessons from afar, 3 Chinese astronauts have delivered lectures to their students from space days after China successfully